Hello and welcome to West Country Wanderings. Welcome to the city of Bristol, in part of Bristol called Henbury, to do the second part of my Hidden Bristol series. This is a short bite one today. Last time we were looking at Second World War wartime shelters right in the heart of the Bristol, but we're here on the northwestern edge. We're not that far from places like Pilling or Piling, never know how you pronounce it, down towards the Severn Bridge. There's actually a Downsway footpath and cycle track there. That over there is the Blaze Estate, Blaze Castle Estate, which links into our story. And I think what we're going to be looking at here. So I'm here in Church Close, BS10 in Bristol, if you like your postcodes. And the beautiful church of Henbury is just along there. So hey, you can join me. Let's have a look at the church, but also a secret in the churchyard. Nothing to do with this video, but that's the church behind us, by the way. I'd say that's not the main feature, but it is really, really nice church. It's just this. I was last here probably 18 months, 2 years ago, doing my Blaze Castle and Blaze Estate video. I'll link to that video at the end of this one. And there's these pebbles here on the war memorial, the 45th Braintree. Braintree is another little suburb of Bristol, which is a bit further along that way. Bit forward towards the east, but those stones there, they were there when I was here last time and they haven't been moved, which is absolutely great to see. Oh, by the way, if you hear lots of puffing and panting going on this morning, it's not me, it's the park run, I think, which is taking place over there in the Blaze Castle Estate. I actually parked my car up, managed to get a spot where it was quite a bit of parking outside Blaze Castle Estate. Within about 2 minutes there was about 20 cars all parked in a row behind me. I'm thinking, why are they all following me or something? But no, they were making their way round to the park run there. Now Henbury is a place well worth visiting in its own right. You can come here on a bus, or soon, not far away, be able to arrive here on the train, which is what I'm doing as a separate video about today, looking at 3 new railway stations in South Gloucestershire. The station will actually be in South Gloucestershire. What we're looking at is on behind me. Now the churchyard here at Henbury is actually pretty large. Has this, well, it's like almost like a separate chapel inside the churchyard, and I'm wondering if this is going to link into our story. There are lots of Commonwealth graves here, and the churchyard continues the front and back of the church itself, but also on this extension to it around there. And I'm just wondering if they had this little chapel here when they were conducting funerals and the like. The Henbury churchyard is wrapped up with lots of different oddities, including this memorial here, which I thought first of all was something to do with a war memorial. Now that was at the front where we showed you those brownie stones there, pebbles, but it's this, to the glory of God and in memory of. And most of the family names there are the Scotland family, the Gilmores, the Cullifords and the Cantles. Why are they grouped together? Is this something to do with, again, the Blaze Castle Estate, which is going to be looking into what we're looking at in a moment? But you have this here as well, which is almost like a font. Perhaps it was the original font that was inside the church itself. Now sadly the church is locked. It's got some beautiful flower arrangements there. Maybe it might be open later on, but it's a very, very handsome building. I think the park run starts at 9 o'clock and there's been lots of runners running through this churchyard here using it as a shortcut. And you're probably thinking, well, how do they get in the other side of the shortcut? The back of the churchyard, well, it's because of what's behind me. And it is the heart of our Hidden Bristol subject here in Henbury today in Bristol. And it's what's behind those railings there. That's where the runners have been coming from. They've been coming up some steps, the other side of those railings, crossing through the churchyard and into the Blaze Castle Estate at the start line of the park run. But what is down those steps? Interesting shaft of light there. Well, it's this. It's a tunnel. Not something you would normally expect to see at the back of a churchyard, is it? Let's have a look at it, and I give you a probable reason as to why it's here and when it was built. So yeah, it's a very, very, very curious thing. It's not a complete tunnel or particularly long tunnel, but let's go through it all the way. Got a welcome gap of light in the middle of it here. And it continues on. And then down there. So that's our secret little passageway at the bottom end of Henbury churchyard. Well, what's that all about? Let's just have a closer look at it. So this is it from the brook side, if you like. I'll put a map up so you can see exactly where we are now and where it takes you down to a brook, and well, it runs basically onto the other side of the Blaise Castle estate. And it's obviously going underneath something. And what is that something? Well, it's a large, very, very large building up here. Obviously, for privacy reasons, I can't show it fully, but it's huge. And I believe that is the old rectory of Henbury Church. So look at the end there. Now it's a curious construction because it's made of ashlar. It's got lined with brick. Looks like it's been restored in recent times. It's welcomingly free of graffiti, which is unusual for Bristol, but as I say, we're on the northern fringes of the city here. There we are, back in the tunnel again. Well, after light, but you can see, yeah, so it's got brick arch on the top and stone laid bricks underneath there. And you can see the edge of the arching there. Some ferns growing through in the damp conditions. And a grill there. Now that grill, I think, is linked to the garden that's above in the rectory. Oh, there we go. So let's go on, follow this footpath down the other side. So the footpath into the tunnel goes across the stream here. I've forgotten the name of the stream. I'll put in the name of it now. And yeah, straight in there. And you can see the metal working on the right. The bit on the left is newer, of course. The bit on the right, you can tell, is done from the days when the Blaise Castle estate was going through. It's a very pleasant spot indeed, with a beautiful arch there. So the footpath actually brings you out to the northern edge of the Blaise Castle estate. Over that side is Coombe Hill, and beyond that is Henbury Golf Club. In fact, there's some newer buildings there called Henbury Gardens, but they literally do have some gardens, which is an original walled estate garden from when obviously this was an active country estate from the rich and wealthy. But then we have a bit of a darker turn, and because this is Bristol after all, you probably know in which direction that darker turn is heading as I tell you the story about this interesting tunnel. Well, first of all, a little bit more about the tunnel itself. When was it built and what is it made of? So what I know about the tunnel, according to the Historic England website, and there isn't a great deal of information on this tunnel, is that it was built in 1835. It's got a brick arch construction, also made with something called copper slag, and something also known as pennant steps, which I've not come across before. If I can find out what pennant steps are, I'll put that in below. And yeah, so it's a block stone or rock construction as well. So yeah, so it's a mixture of buildings built in 1835, but by whom and for what? Why does it need to go into a tunnel? Why couldn't it just go through the edge of the corner of the rectory there? Well, that is where our story gets quite dark. And the reason, it's believed, and I say I'm not 100% certain, but it's believed that the tunnel was constructed for slaves. Yes, I told you, because of Bristol, it probably have a slave connection, taking a darker turn. Well, why would they want to go through the tunnel? Well, it's because they wanted the slaves to access the church, specifically church services. It is thought that when the slaves came here, that the owners, the slave trade owners of this estate, Blaise Castle estate, they wanted them to become good Christians, so they were encouraged, in inverted commas, to attend church regularly there in Henbury. But the owners of the rectory didn't want to see them. They didn't want to see the slave. They just wanted to see them working on the estate, but they didn't want them coming across their land to their own private garden. So they had a tunnel built under the rectory lands so they could get from the estate here, Blaise Castle Estate, working on it, working in the fields, working in the gardens, in the large houses, but they didn't want the rectory itself. So they built a tunnel, so they went underneath and bypassed that to bring them right out into the church and then the service. Now I don't know, that chapel, which is in the churchyard, is where they were taken for the services rather than the main body of the church itself. I'm not sure on that. If you've got any thoughts on that, please drop a comment in the usual way below. Well, I hope you enjoyed this short bite video in my Hidden Bristol series. And so the first one was looking at, which wasn't a short bite, it was a much longer one, looking at the World War II shelters there underneath the markets there in the centre of Bristol. And there'll be another one in this series, probably in the next couple of months or so, back here again in the city of Bristol. Amazing city, which has so much history, some of it a bit dark, touching on slave tradery, but it did happen, so you know, you can't avoid the topic. And obviously it does have a legacy of it, a physical legacy, which we can see back there in the shape of that tunnel. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope to see you on the channel again very soon. Take care. Bye bye for now.